Hello, hello everyone. It's Kenyon here. It's Basketball Rewind, and I'm joined by the typical guys that I am joined by, which is Coach. Coach just came back from an undisclosed destination that we might get into later. You know, I'm not sure if he hit the buffet tables or not, but we'll just leave it at that. And of course, beyond the locker room is joining again. It's Basketball
Oh,
Rewind.
mine's grinding with the Kenyan while coach out there living the lap of luxury.
Exactly, exactly. As people have noticed, I had a slightly different schedule. Sometimes I'm outside, and as I said, I mean it's been a little bit too hot to be outside, but I'll be outside whenever I can, as much as I can, as long as my hand and my laptop are not getting burnt like they have been sometimes when I'm outside. With that being said, let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about a couple free agency moves. We're also going to be talking about, of course, the Summer League, because a lot of people are wondering what these two think about Summer League because they've gotten sick of my thoughts on Summer League. So let's get into it all. First things first, beyond, how are you doing, Coach? How are you feeling?
Um, just as I said before, it's been a beautiful summer. Just trying to get outside and enjoy as much of it as possible. But there's been a lot of interesting stuff going on as usual in the world of basketball, and I'm looking forward to having that discussion with two of my favorite people to discuss hoops with. So yeah, that's about it for me.
Coach?
I'm good. I'm back from my undisclosed location of the new Florida of Canada right now, Nova Scotia. So
Yeah.
no, I had a very nice trip. Actually, a lot of basketball was involved too. Saw my old high school coach. He showed me a lot of brochures and pamphlets and clippings of some of his things with John Wooden and Hubie Brown. Um, he always tells stories of Leo Routens too, of how he met him when he was like 16. So it was good to kind of see some of these old things like basketball in the 70s and what it looked like. And I went to my old gym, Acadia University, get to be on the court, and I know the coach there, the women's team, fairly well, so had a little good chat with him. So it was good to catch up with some people I haven't seen for a while. But
Did you catch any of, obviously we bet our demise against Australia if I'm not mistaken, but did you see any of the U19 FIBA for the
I did
women's
not.
side?
I
Okay.
did not see that.
Well, spoiler alert, we were doing good, and then we just couldn't get over the hump with Australia. It was not a great game, so I'll just leave it at
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
This leads to a discussion we should have someday about that when it gets a little quieter in August.
Yes.
Where the national team is, the program overall. Are we overachieving? Are we underachieving? Or are we achieving as we should be? There is, it could be debatable depending on what your perspective is.
There is a discussion, and there's a discussion that is different on both the men's and the women's side, which is interesting.
Wow.
And they're in different situations.
It's funny you mentioned that because Gabby Williams was listening, talking on NBA radio about that. And when she's at the All Star game, she was saying that the French team, when they had the Olympics, all the men and women just ate in the same concourse. Like they're all together. There was no like, oh, here's the men's side, here's the women. They're all eating together. So she and Wemby would be at table, or who else I'm thinking about? All the other guys in this case here,
For sure.
Gobert, you name it, they're all combined there, having eating with Saloon and whoever else in this case here.
For sure. I mean, we will definitely get into that because there is an interesting discussion for it. But for today, Dame. So Dame is going to be the first thing. It is Dame time, and Dame made it Dame time as Pacific Standard Time. So he went back home to Portland. I have not talked about this yet, and I think it's an interesting discussion because he went back home and signed, a retirement deal, 3 years, $42 million, and he is going to retire out to Portland. Now, from the player side, it makes perfect sense. He is going. He There's a lot of rumors that came out that he wanted to rehab in Portland. His kids grew up in Portland. His kids are presumably in Portland in some sort of way, shape, or form. And we do know that he had some turbulence at home, and so the ability to be close to your next of kin, I think, is very, very important to him, and that's what really ultimately factored into him not being swayed by Jason Tatum's hey, we can rehab together type of thing. Instead, he's going back home to Portland where it all started. And and he had a very beautiful, jersey announcement with that. Now, I'm gonna say one other thing, and then I'm gonna toss it to Beyond first, and then I'm gonna end it with Coach because Dame is his man or man. Yeah, exactly. Number one, yeah.
Zero.
Here's the thing: from ownership perspective, this is a little bit of making up for a past mistake. They last that we heard in terms of Portland was Dame was getting locked out of key card access, trying to access facilities right before he was traded. It was a cold world. It was it's more cold than rainy in Portland on that day in summer apparently, and we know where it ended. It ended up with him getting moved and not to one of his preferred destinations. Now, I think the preferred destination aside, he had a fun, small, short-lived run. I think Milwaukee has, done a good job of making quick moves. I don't know how they'll work out, but they did move quickly on this. And ultimately, we'll see from their perspective. But just to focus in on the Portland Dame side of things, I think is very interesting. Beyond your thoughts.
Well, we say this all the time. It's a running theme in our discussions when we talk about management, and it's about relationship building. And this is a story that shows the way you shouldn't do it and the way you should do it. Usually, you don't have that in the same story with the same characters. That usually not how things work in sports. So for this to kind of figure things out, where it's like, okay, Portland, new young GM, new young basketball operation. You want to make sure he's the boss in this case here and show who's boss in the Northwest. And he's going to take out the most popular Portland Blazer, not named Bill Walton, out the building like that. Okay, you could do so, but you better make sure in this case you got all your ducks in a row when you do so. Because if things don't start hitting, folks are going to start looking at you. Now, I think now he feels a little more comfortable in the position Portland's in now, because Portland's kind of on the ascent. I think that's one of the reasons why they're doing this deal. If Portland still stink at the joint like they were 2 years ago, I ain't sure this deal's getting done. But I think he feels better at least where the team is at and where his players are. Second thing is, I think from the standpoint of the public relations element of it, yeah, it's a no-brainer in this case from that standpoint. The third part is from the player's perspective, which I must admit, I am trying to go back to a player of this ilk. It's a bit of an old school way of thinking. In a way, I almost appreciate more from Lillard, where it's like, I'm not going to go around, where I'm kind of past my prime. I'm going to do the Karl Malone, Gary Payton, just try to chase a ring and play a year, or in this case, pick whoever, Akeem Olajuwon running to Toronto. And where it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. It ends up being a trivia question. Oh, yeah, I forgot he played for the Raptors.
Yeah.
It's not one of those. It's like, man, it is what it is. And if you know Damian Lillard's personality enough, it has a Damian Lillard feel to it. It's like, you know what? I'm good. I played my career. I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Now, I did hear some guys on NBA radio suggesting that he could have just waited for a year and then signed. I disagree with that. Like, you get forgotten about real quick in this league.
Exactly.
So signing on to an A-place period is a smart decision.
It's your money.
He's a 6'2", 38-year-old point guard with a huge injury. Like, who's remembering him a year from now?
Yeah.
Earlier on, it's a cold, cold world. Quote to J. Cole. Yeah, man. When it's all said and done, you gotta make your move for yourself and your family, as you mentioned before too. Is like, and in a way I appreciate, because it does remind me of a bit of a deal I would see in the '80s. That's what it reminds me of. And I didn't think those deals were still possible. One way I feel, I don't want to get all romanticized about it, because I know everyone's all tough and cynical these days, but I feel warm and fuzzy about it. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good way to go out. Yeah. And I think it's probably one of the only ways that he was going to get a 3-year deal. Yeah. And they made right by him and his agent, which I will get into agency stuff later on, but I think that they made right by him. So, yeah, Coach, your man, your thoughts.
Well, I love it, for one. And I think Dame got a little taste of the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Even if there's more of a championship push in Milwaukee for him versus Portland, it was pretty clear and out there that he did not like living in Wisconsin. He did not like it. He didn't like the cold, didn't like the snow. Dame's a California guy. he knows Portland, Oregon. And Portland, Oregon's a lot closer than Wisconsin. So I think, too, and Beyond kind of made the point, Dame is at the point in his career where it's not a necessary thing maybe for him to have a title. I think his kids grew up in Portland. That's what they know most. And I think he just kind of was like, you know what? Kids love it here. I get to go out here in Portland, still make a good salary. I get to come back next year and maybe help an ascending team, because I would agree with Beyond. This team is on the ascent. Donovan Clingan, Sharp, our guy Sharp, Scoot Henderson, Drew Holiday, Avdia, Kamara. They got something building in Portland. And sorry to our guy on the run. Rand. Man, you got to watch some Portland this year, man. They're coming, that's for sure. So I like what Portland's doing. They've been building the last couple of years. They made some big trades, and it's Yang time too, man. That guy in summer league.
You're part of the Yang gang too.
Here's the thing. A lot of that Chinese market, Chinese, audience
The West Coast.
into Portland. That's huge for that basketball market of Portland. And then you have Sharp, who's from Canada. Like Portland's kind of they got some players from a lot. Avdia, I think, is from Israel, if I'm correct.
And they
So
just got a WNBA team.
and they just get WNBA teams. So I think the state of Oregon and the city of Portland, there's some things happening there, maybe compared to what there was 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. I agree with you. I'm not ready to figure out all of the Western Conference standings just yet, but Portland is someone that they're a team that will be on the rise, and I definitely think that at bare minimum they should be competing for a play-in. The Western Conference standings is going to be hard to predict. Definitely hard to predict because there's a lot of good teams. Someone's gonna miss out on the game of musical chairs this time for sure. But with that being said, it's time. It's the Lakers' time. We are not ESPN, and we are not paid to talk about the Lakers. But I did like the Lakers' moves. They made two good moves. I really liked the two moves. One was to get Ayton, and which I think some people were clowning. But I mean, Ayton at a minimum. I mean, he's still a walking triple-double, and for a team that did not have any center except for maybe Koloko, which he didn't play much, and the other one was Jackson Hayes, which, okay. Outside of that, they were looking at almost like a similar type of, a slightly taller Mobo type situation with Vanderbilt, who also barely played. So to get from that to someone who's realistically, if he was on the open market and he didn't enter free agency in the way that he did, he's probably a mid-level exception guy. And that's I think he's definitely more than a minimum. And for a center, a mid-level exception, around
he might be more than a mid-level exception because he's a center.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I think he'd be more than that because
potentially, yeah.
Yeah, because I think the Lakers and everyone else learn real fast. We saw the draft. There's a reason why everybody over 6'10" is getting drafted left, right, and center, except for the folks in this market.
Exactly.
Because they're hard to find, man.
I was just gonna say they made one other move, and then you guys can take it away, which is Marcus Smart, and they got Marcus Smart on the minimum. So they're collecting really good high-end players. Marcus Smart, former Defensive Player of the Year. That's a good dude to have in there, with that backcourt to shore up the defense, to get some better rebounding, to get a walking double-double. This is why I said behind the scenes, it's like, don't be surprised if they're a top 3 team again. That's all. I mean, I don't know what they do with that. I mean, matchups will determine. It's way too early but don't be determined. Don't be shocked, folks, if the Lakers are a really, really, really good team next year. Your guys' thoughts. Take it away. Coach, you were going first, so yeah.
And just in defense of 8-2,
Mhm.
people forget the year of that draft. Everybody had him number one. Obviously,
I,
hindsight
I,
is.
I did not. I had Luca personally, but
Oh, okay. Well, most people had Aiton going number one that year over Luca, over Bagley, over Trey, them
yeah.
all. But I'm very curious to see the DeAndre Ayton JJ Redick relationship. Quite honestly, that is going to be interesting to see throughout the year.
Mhm.
And I'm rooting for him because I loved Aiton's ability coming out of college at Arizona. He was really good there. He had one good year there when they went to the finals in Phoenix. But does a Redick, does a LeBron James, does a Luka Doncic help him? It's not so much Aiton's offense has been an issue for me. It's been defensively. And, he gets lost sometimes, but I'm hoping a guy like Marcus Smart, who you just said, coming in, hopefully that will help. I just think the Lakers' biggest thing next year will be health. It's not
Yeah.
so much LeBron James. Like, he's going to be 41, I think, this year. Like, this ain't 35-year-old LeBron. He'll still put up numbers, but they're going to still have to prioritize his health in the long run, especially if they want to make a postseason push. And Luka Doncic getting in shape. Luka looks smaller. This is good. That's what we've been asking for. And beyond being our resident Mavericks fan, I'm pretty sure Mavericks fans want to get him to get in some shape. And he looks smaller. And let's see how this all works out, because I do think, like you said, I think the Lakers are better going into next season than they did when they ended the season.
I think let me start with Aiton. I think there's players in this case that people sometimes forget because they have such disdain of just like a of I don't know, just a, some type of emotion when certain players get named. They lose track of how talented the player is. Like, there's not a lot of guys in this league, in this case, at 7 feet, in this case, that play as well as Aiton. Like, when his head's right, just flat out.
Yep.
Like, with all due respect to Mark Williams, if both guys are playing at their peak, Mark Williams and Aiton, that's not even a discussion.
Yeah. No.
Okay, like this is the thing. When people say, it's like, oh no, dude, like Aiton's like at walking 18-9. Okay, like that's what. Okay, and here's the thing with Aiton too. You want to talk about the perfect complement? This is the reason why I, defensively, to coach's point, where there might be some issues at
Yeah,
times.
for sure.
But I think he will actually be more inspired defensively than people will give credit for. Because you go back to the Phoenix year, what certain players like Aiton, I always use my man DC Derek Coleman, right? Certain guys get involved in the offense and get involved in offense. They have naturally, well, you're a coach, you know what it is. They'll start playing defense once they get some touches.
Yeah. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no one talks about a Shaq, but yeah, Shaq had his moments, exactly. But one thing's for sure, he's going to get plenty of touches in this case in that offense, be it with LeBron and definitely with Luka. Because we know Luka loves a 5-man that can pick and pop or roll to the hoop, and he can do both. So he can get plenty of opportunities. If you look back to the championship run when he was a rookie, yeah, Chris Paul being the maestro doing that. And he was as happy as a pig in mud. you get 15-foot elbow shots. You get dunks to the hoop. It was good times. And he's going to be more inspired to play defensively. He's still going to have his moments, true, where JJ Redick's going to be sitting there just grinding his teeth. That will be entertaining. But the other part I'm watching more closely, and I don't know, I've been kind of away from the summer, from the off-season stuff, but I assume, and our resident capologist here, Kenya, will explain to me what has happened. But has AR-15 get signed up yet?
Who's AR-15?
Austin?
Oh. Well, yeah, but he's under contract this year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not an issue. It's more, where's the extension there?
That's my point. That is my point. And now I find it interesting with the smart move. What I'll be watching when late game situation is 5 minutes left to go. Who's that last starting five? I know Aiton will be on the floor. I know Luka's gonna be on the floor. I know LeBron gonna be on the floor. Interchange whatever power forward or small forward you want in this case here. The last spot in this case here is that backcourt. Is that going to be, is he going to have two liabilities on defense with Luka and AR? Or is he going to go with a guy who was a defensive player of the year in those last 5 minutes of games when it's tight? It's going to get real interesting in LA when those moments happen. I'm just going to find it fascinating to see what Reddit does in the second year when those moments come.
Will be interesting for sure.
It will be.
I think just on the Aiton defense point, really quickly. I think the fact that you can have someone that brings in the size and the rebounding on a consistent basis, that alone, I'm not saying that's all defense because it's not, and sometimes the counting stats over exaggerate that impact, but it does help a lot. It helps to secure, especially when the game slows down and every single possession matters. If you can get an engaged Aiton grabbing boards and helping to box out guys, that helps a lot. LeBron James, I know everyone is obsessed with him leaving the Lakers. More than likely, he's going to retire a Laker. Spoiler alert. Well, I'll say this: he might go somewhere next year, maybe, because there's the younger man. It's not Bronny, the other one.
Bryce.
That is, yeah, Bryson James. So that's possible. He might just say, I'm going to wait till I can play with both my sons together or whatever. But more than likely, he's retiring as a Laker, or he's playing out this year as a Laker, more than likely. So, he's 40 though, right? And he can't be one of the tallest guys on the floor, come close of fourth quarter in a game 7 or a game 6 or whatever. You don't want that to be the case. So, and I'm not going to get into my Luka thing today. That's for another day. But I think that they have a team. That's all I'm going to say. And I think that they're very interesting. And they're not that far away. The Austin Reeves point is interesting. He has a player option for the next year. I think that they probably want him to opt in on that and then extend him from that. I don't think he's going to do that. So we'll see how that plays because he might be a free agent next year.
He would be one of the highest free agents next year.
Yeah.
Mid-20s.
That's a massive free agent class, by the way, 2026.
Right. And it won't be exactly how the CBA setup is not going to be. And when you have a guy something like his mid-20s scoring 20 a night that gets his own shot and shoot like 85% for the free throw line.
Yeah. Well, I think he's one of the younger guys that's going to be because the next 2 free agency classes are going to have some players. 2027 is a little bit more star-studded. So to Coach's point, him coming out next year is actually the smart move because he could basically Fred VanVleet it and bet it on himself.
And if he's open in this case that LeBron decides to retire and get the rocking chair goes, a big fat cap space open up in Los Angeles now.
Yes, and I know that people are saying like, Luka's extension too, which sure, but his extension isn't going to kick in for a while anyway, so that's like whatever. Plus, Luka is going to be the same type of situation as Jokic. Why am I going to opt in and only take 3 years when I can get 4 years and get more money anyways? I know that people try to make some of these types of moves news, which are really non-news, and I'm just saying that it's non-news in terms of Luka's extension. All right, moving on. Raptors Summer League, the fun part of this video. So, I mean, we'll just before I get into the overall, let's just jump in. We'll get into the players after, but in terms of the strategy stuff, the coaching side of things, let's talk about James Wade. This is the first time I learned about James Wade. Coach, you seem to like him. A few other people that I heard from do also seem to like him. He was very animated, very engaged. I think he did a good job of defensively getting the players to buy in. Offensively, I have some thoughts. But, yeah, your thoughts. Coach, we'll start with you, and we'll go to Beyond.
Well, I know he was I believe he was a championship coach, WNBA, is that right? And I've been hearing from people like, he knows defense because his teams that he coached were very good defensive teams. I'm just impressed with the buy-in that he's got from the players. They played every game, and everything that stood out about how they played came from their defense. Their offense was basically generated from their defense. And to have that kind of set up a culture of what you ideally want to have, that's the best that I've seen probably a Raptors coach do in the 20 years I've been watching Summer League. I can't recall a team that bought into playing defense and to quite honestly do it that well. It rotate and trap, it box out, and just be willing to pick up 94 feet most of the game. It's hard to get by in some NBA players, but you could get away with it with some guys who are trying to make the league or rookies. So you get away with that. good luck with Brandon Ingram or RJ Barrett doing that, but you get away with these guys. Yeah, the offense, like you said, Kenyon, it was a bit questionable at times, but it just seemed like to me they clearly went into the summer league with an identity. We're going to play defense. We're going to get in people's faces. We're going to force turnovers, and we'll just try to get out, push the pace. And I think they were top 4 or 5 in pace of play in summer league, and they were number 2 for defensive rating in summer league as well, just behind the Clippers. So I just like what I saw from James Wade, and I hope that he moves up closer to Darko when the season starts.
Fair enough. Keon,
I could go further, but I'll keep it.
Please continue.
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay. I mean, James Wade in this case, incredible coach. I mean, when they started putting this bench together, I had concerns with a lot of the folks on there. He was one of the few guys that actually had a little bit of a resume and probably had the most actual, be honest, actually the most successful resume. Where it's like, okay, this guy here has been in the big seat before. Fair enough, it's a different league, but hey, man, it's the same type of things you got to deal with. And he actually put the mountaintop in his league. So I think, he had the team as well, organized well enough. My thing is more the approach of the entire franchise when it comes to this philosophy of like, we'd be swarming out here like rabid dogs in this case here and think that we're going to get away with that in the NBA season. I can't wait. I had a discussion yesterday. This thing I mentioned to you guys earlier. I went to dinner party last night and talked to one of the fellas in this case here was fascinating. Yeah, I know he's the player of high school ball around me, and I know him through the family. And he and I were discussing this team, and he was going to tell me that this team. It's amazing how Raptor fans think. That he actually thought in this case that we're going to be good defensively and we will be a top 6 seed this year. I actually think him as a credible person when it comes to knowing hoops. And I had to ask him, I was like, come on, man. I said, you know better than this, man. Come on. You'll know we're going to be good defensively. I said, how do you expect in this case that this defense that we're seeing out here today or this week in the summer league is going to translate in the regular season for 82 games? We're going to have RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram with barely 2 legs in this case here, running around like this with Jakob Perl, who's not known for rim defense on a good day. And now you might have 2-on-1s when you're trapping like this. I would love to see how this is going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll get to the defense.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is it looks all great when you see it in Summer League when no one's going to call any fouls, and you have as many fouls as you want. I saw a play in this case with Jacoby Walter had like a handful of a guy's jersey. And I'm sitting there going like,
well, remember what happened? Did either of you watch the final game that they played?
I watched. No, I was away from
that.
I watched highlights.
So here's the thing. And I didn't know this until I was watching the game because it's like, why are all these guys fouling out? Because usually in Summer League you have like 8 or something fouls or 10 fouls or whatever. But in the they need to change this rule in my opinion and just keep it consistent. But when you just so there's consistency, because all of a sudden you change from game to game, right? But like I forget which conference it is where I think Beyond you were giving us a trivia thing where one conference in college hoops the big men have a 3-second rule.
The Big East has 6 fouls. Everyone else has 5 in college. Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, right? Like you have a situation where all of a sudden there's 6 fouls for the final 2 games that you would potentially play. And half the team is fouling out. And it's like, yes, I agree that some of these guys need to play through their mistakes, learn how to take less fouls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can get to the individuals. I'm not going to kind of go over that specific game, but to your point, 2 things. The way that team was been built in terms of the Summer League team is very different than the main squad. So in terms of strategy, from an offensive standpoint, I don't think that there's much that's going to kind of go over to the main squad. But defensively, I think that they're trying to like test certain things out that might. And I see some issues. We don't have that type of defense throughout our team in a way that we can kind of put it out there. And we saw in the final game, and actually in general, there were slow starts, and you can't rely on playing like that to get you into games because you will burn yourself out. We saw it with Nick Nurse to an extent. And
We
it's
did.
also a defense it does have holes in it when you have better, more well studied squads who study you. Like you get, gosh, like enough games that there's tape on you, and there are holes that could occur. I know I had a debate the other day with someone talking about whether or not Brandon Ingram could give the good old college try and be a good defender like his first year. And I said in his first year he was not a good defender. They said, well, he played with more vim and vigor and whatever. The problem is that he's going to have a much higher, like he was playing with LeBron like a couple years ago, and he was a lot lower on the depth chart. So I don't see Brandon Ingram, who is going to have to carry such an offensive load, as someone who is going to be one of the top 3 defenders on this team.
No.
Well, I mean, just from a standpoint, we keep always saying this with this group and this organization. They always seem to put players in very difficult positions that it shouldn't be in.
Correct.
So what I mean by that is, if Brandon Ingram's had leg injuries for multiple times in his career, would it be wise for him to be playing, 40 minutes of hell basketball like is Nolan Richardson out there, trapping and running around the place?
Probably not. And this is not like, just in general, hockey lineups don't really work in basketball unless you have an OKC level of depth, right? Like, it's or even once they figured it out, like, and even they Pacers they played a lot of guys, but they didn't play that type of depth. OKC is one of the teams that's like they had so much depth throughout the regular season that they could do that. We don't. We're deeper than we have been, but we're not that deep. Not at every single position.
No, and even OKC still cut their bench in the finals.
Yeah, but I'm talking. We ain't making the finals.
No, right.
So I'm talking about the regular season.
Yeah.
This is not a style that is conducive to regular season.
That's my point. Because when you get the playoffs, if you're fortunate enough to do so, them boys gonna be out there playing 40 minutes doing that.
Yeah, but you need to get like Brandon Ingram healthy enough to even make it to that point.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. That's to say the miracle.
We could talk about that.
Exactly.
That's its own pod.
I got some things when it comes to players that make my head scratch a little bit.
But yeah, I mean, so just from an offensive standpoint, that there's that, and then I'll say one other thing, and then we can get into the individual players. Summer League to me is I was talking to shout to JD on this, but we were having a good lively discussion about the purpose of Summer League, and one of the purposes of Summer League is to evaluate guys. But then there's some dudes that like played like 5 minutes the whole Summer League, and it's like, what the heck? I don't know what this dude does. Do you know what last name Joyner? Do you know who he is? What he does? Not really. I know that he got like a 1 minute cardio run. It was real good. That's about it. He got a little jog, got a little like, photo op or whatever. Got in the Congo line, went home. Like, and got his per diem. Like, so you could spend on the casino. Like, that doesn't really, I get it that the big boss is sitting there and you gotta really get these wins out, which is another thing. I hope that isn't the focus, because I hope that they're not shifting focus in Summer League just so you can keep your jobs. But, we will see. It's something that I think I talked about on some of the lives. I'm bringing it into here too. I think that it's important. Any final thoughts before we get into? Otherwise, we just need to keep rolling because we need to get and cover a couple of these players. Okay, Chomchi, thoughts?
Hey man, there's only one man can speak first when it comes to the Chomchi.
Looks more comfortable on the floor, very active. You can just tell that he's had a year of playing basketball, like NBA, G League basketball. When he came in last year, he got a little bit better each game, but he still needs a lot of work. That's why I'm trying to advocate for him to be a third string center for a team that's trying to make the play-in tournament. You can't have him as your backup center. He'd have to be the development would have to be astronomical throughout the year, and the development has been okay. I'll say he looks more comfortable. It's a couple of jump hooks in the middle of the key, but like Pirtle-esque a little bit, which was good. But I'm fine with his development so far, but Darko said that. He said this is a 2-year project. And I hear some people here saying, oh, he can be the backup center to Pirtle this year. No, he can't. I like Shamshi as much as anybody. Do not do that to him. Give him time.
Yeah, I mean, Beyond, I'll let you go first.
Hey, man, I think I'm with some of those folks, man. I would roll the dice and put him out there.
Oh, I'd worry. It depends on what the expectations are this year.
So how many minutes would you give him, Beyond?
Tops 15, 18 minutes, maybe.
18. Okay, wow. Okay, that's a little bit more than me.
Yeah,
I'm going 5 to 10, but every single game 5 to 10. Not like,
Like, let's face it, they're gonna play some small ball center at some point, right? So he's gonna get a little bit of time, but like, why not play him?
I don't think he has to play against small ball centers. He was playing against Embiid just fine.
That's what I'm saying. He played against freaking Embiid.
Yeah.
So like, why do everyone think we gotta put
defensively? He's not that far off. I think from being a rotation level guy on a more consistent basis. I think offensively, his game has clearly been simplified, which is good, and now he has to build up that skill back to do a little bit more. I listen. I'm saying I said to you before, 10 minutes is like perfect, and there's no. In fact, I was advocating for it before you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no problem with the 10 minutes, but when I watch him summer leagues, like, this guy can play 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it depends on what your goal is this year.
Well, maybe my goal and their goal is a little bit different, but like, well, I'm looking at it from the standpoint.
There you go.
But even development, like I could play Castleton for 15 minutes or something. I'd rather play him.
Oh yeah, no, I'd rather.
I don't think he's gonna be here no more.
I'm just thinking of Pirtle, Mamu Kelishvili. I think I said that right.
Give me a break. Some dude we dragged out here playing 6'9".
I think he's further ahead than Chomsky, though.
Yeah, but I go back to what I said before. I've been consistent. I want some size, folks. 6'9" centers I don't want, and 6'7" centers I don't want. 6'11" with arms like trees. I don't want 6'7" dudes playing center. And
no. I from that perspective, he should be playing. And the funny thing is Mamu you can play with.
Right, exactly. Power forward with him. Like I just don't see. To me, it's like I look at what he's doing.
But then you're powerful. I mean, we don't have to figure out the whole rotation thing now. But yeah.
I'll just say my point with Chomsky is going to be very quick and simple.
Yeah,
he's probably the brightest spot in the whole summer league. Quite honestly, based on what
he's the only.
No, he's the brightest. There's some other guys that have some mixed views that start off brighter, kind of dimmed a little bit. But he, to me, consistently, he's the brightest star or the brightest thing where I was like, oh, I came up feeling good about him more so than anybody else.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I've said what I think he's earned his way to 10 minutes a night. I thought it before. It's this solidified it. Still has some work to do as Coach pointed out, but he'll get there. I think beyond 10 minutes or even 15 minutes, if he's getting closer to 18, one of two things happen. Now, Pirtle's foul prone, but
injury prone too.
That's where I was going. If Pirtle goes down for any amount of time, he will get serious minutes.
Yes.
However, that, depending on which camp you are in for the overall future of the franchise, may not be the worst.
Well, once coach in this case gets that new position, that might be all right then.
Absolutely. Shed is next. So I'll just give my thoughts quickly on Shed, and then we'll get the ball rolling. Beyond, I'll go with you first, Shed. But I mean, overall, I thought he was getting killed way too much online. I thought a lot of people were like killing him. Like, to me, I've always thought of him as more of a closer to a backup. He does need to work on his ability to like, how do I get it? He can understand that the game needs to be managed, but he's not always putting the ball where it needs to go. And that is something that is at times innate for some people, and it is a skill that can be learned, but it takes time to learn that skill. So, to me, that's where I go at with that. I think that he is someone that is solidified himself as a backup, but if you found a better offensive initiator, he might be fighting for minutes in the future. Like if we had Kasparis and we got Kasparis at pick 20, I don't know if I would feel the same because again, I'm looking at getting bigger. You just complained about size. You got to get bigger and you need a better someone who can more distribute. Like the final game was all him, but also it's like what type of reps are you giving the other guys? Because if you're not going to give Walter the reps in certain ways, then yes, when AJ Lawson is out, then what are you going to do? So yeah. Coach, I'll go with you this time. Or no, I said beyond. So beyond.
Shed, I think some people are really overestimating what Shed's role in this team is. He will have an important role to play on this team this year because he needs to be running the second unit.
Like people were freaking out and being like he's not an NBA player. I'm like, okay, yeah, like can we not be hyperbolic with everything?
Well, they can't help themselves. Come on, when we Twitter, I mean, come on. Now.
Yeah.
I think also too, like his shot selection at times, where I think this is where me myself and the Twitterati in this case are kind of the same page. I think Shed has got a little too much in his head, like, hey, I'm the captain of the ship kind of thing. Therefore, I will be taking all the shots when it comes down to crunch time. I should be the person in this case taking shots at the end of the shot clocks instead of setting up my teammates. There's a little too much of that going on a little bit too many times because the shot selection has been questionable at times. You didn't shoot it great during Summer League, I didn't think so. But I think he'll be fine because he'll have less minutes, so therefore it won't be as apparent, and he'll get better over time. He's still a young guy, so I think it's a bit overblown with Shed, but I think there is, I would like to agree with you, and have some other guys have more on-ball opportunities because that gets to one of my other guys that we're going to talk about next, which as the time went on, I was getting very frustrated watching him.
Yeah. I'll say one other thing before Coach goes. I implore people to, it's okay to talk about the past, but to get stuck on past players and project those past players on new players, like, just because Jamal Shed is of a similar stature to Kyle Lowry or Fred VanVleet does not mean that either Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet don't even play like each other, and Shed is just an entirely new individual. So, yeah. Coach.
Well, if you're looking for Chris Paul from Jamal Shed, good luck. He's never been that throughout playing college. I think Shed is what he is. I think there is a toughness about him that I think this team needs. I think he has decent leadership qualities from what I've heard, yes, from what I've read. Some of the numbers in Summer League were not good. He shot under 40% from the field and under 24% from three. But the three-point shot got better as the year went along last year. And I was okay with Shed's performance. Like, there were some times where, like, yeah, he was making some not the best decisions, but I'm not worried about him. I'll just put it that way. I think I have an understanding a little bit of what he is, and he'll continue to get incrementally better, but I don't know if Shed will get to a point where he's going to be a starting point guard in the league someday, like a top 15 point guard in the league. I don't know if that's him, and it doesn't have to be him. I just think, he could be a POA defender. He can make some shots. He could be a real pest on defense. I hope to see that Houston Shed that I saw. And last year at times, you really didn't see that version of Jamal Shed. So, yeah, I know some people were kind of killing him at times, but I wasn't. It wasn't the biggest thing for me. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think success is a function of expectations.
Yeah,
and I think if you're expecting if you're always expecting championship or bust, like or you're always expecting every single year, it's like the developmental leap is going to be. This is why I caution people, like, not every single thing is going to look like Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby, their leaps. And to be fair, those outside of Fred VanVleet's were coming from first round picks. Right? So if you're always expecting second round picks to have those same level of leaps, you might be disappointed. And that's why teams value first round picks and moving forward, because it's cheap labor. Teams are going to value first round picks, and first round picks can be valuable, even in drafts that are weaker and stuff like that. But I think Shed will be fine. He'll be in the rotation, and he'll have more than opportunity. But like I said, ideally, this team is still lacking. And I'll cover this at a different date, but this team is lacking some serious, strong, consistent guard offensive initiation. Doesn't have to necessarily come from a guard, but it's the guard play could be better. Walter, I'll go last on this one. I'll go in reverse order. Coach, you go first. Beyond, then I'll go.
Jacoby had his moments where I know there was one game he had 20 something. I'm trying to remember who they were playing. Was it the Bulls? There was might have been the Bulls. That was his kind of. He had that one moment in summer league where he looked very good. He looked like he was take over. Like he had that aura about him. Like, I'm the best player on the floor right now, and I'm going to take over. And we all know Jacoby's not shy. He tries to get his. Definitely, he's put on some weight and muscle, certainly from last year. Still worried a little bit about his creation at times, as I do with Jamal Shed. Their backcourt, it was tough for those guys at times to create, so that was a little worrisome. But I think Jacoby needed this moment in Summer League to kind of showcase for the coaches to see, like, I want to be a rotation player next year. I think he's going to be a rotation player for the Raptors. And his defense, to me, was fine. Just his offense at times, it was difficult for him. But he had that one game where he couldn't miss. Great catch and shoot. But got to work on the creation skills this offseason as well. Because he's got it. He can create.
He can. I feel like he's better at creating, and he doesn't have, lateral movement that will allow him to create in the ways that you would hope. But his straight line drive has enough craftiness within it that he can kind of add things. We'll see. I mean, like you said, he has a summer to add things. And but right now, to me, I'm not here to put like a ceiling on him, but I could very well see him becoming, and I've said this a couple times, a KCP level guy in his prime, and that's a good player. It's a really good player. That's that 3-and-D. He can't create for himself, as as we have seen at times, but like he can punch up every so often and really like fill out a role on a really good team. Do you see him? Let's ignore RJ for a second. Can you see him starting? Is there a case for him to start?
You talking about this year?
Yes. Like between him and Grady, who would you start? I wouldn't
start him over Grady. Not yet.
Interesting.
And I like Jacoby, actually. I could see what he could offer defensively, because he did average almost 3 steals a game for them in Summer League. I mean, it's not nothing. So I still think Grady, a little bit more size. I think he's get more lift, I guess. I would still probably go with Grady.
Much better passer too.
Grady? Yeah. And again, we're figuring out more about Jacoby's game though, and I'm not worried about it, that's for sure.
No.
I think if you told me there was a world where Jacoby Walter in 5 years was better than Grady Dick, I'm not going to shake my head and go, "What? I'm so shocked."
Yeah.
No, I could see a world where that happens, because Jacoby, at least defensively, offers something long term that I'm not sure Grady does offer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think where I'm at with Jacoby is this. The question that I have is it does it make sense for him to start in the starting lineup to have a lower usage guy who can't do all the creation side of the ball because you already have Brandon Ingram and potentially others who already are going to need to eat usage? Can he thrive in that role? Because I think that Grady needs more. He needs to feel, he needs to feel the ball in his hands. He's more of a rhythm guy, and I think that he might be more likely to do that on the second unit. Just a thought experiment. Beyond your thoughts.
Well, I liked how things started with Jacoby the first couple games. I liked the ratio of twos to threes. I did not like the trend it was going in as the tournament went on. There's no way in any rightful mind that Jacoby Walters should be shooting 12 threes a game out of 15 shots or something like that. I just went through here. That's what I was doing when you two were talking. Just going through the spectrum of ratios of 3-point attempts versus overall attempts.
There's one game that he had 11 shots total, and 9 of those were threes.
Yeah, he had another one where he had 12 threes, I think, out of 15 shots or something like that. Sorry, that's not what I signed up for. That's not what I thought the player was getting a year or so ago. So the question I have to ask myself is this the approach the player's taking? Or in this case, this is what the coaches want him to be, which is like, you're going to be outlet valve. It's like, no. I mean, I thought that's what we had James and Ballard for.
Yeah, a lot of those were catch and shoot threes too for Jacoby.
Right. What the hell are we doing that for? I want to see him actually get the ball in his hands and see what he can do. This is what we're supposed to have Summer League for, going back to your original question.
Yeah.
An experiment. Let's see what he does off the dribble. Let's see what he does in the pull-up. A post-up, maybe.
You just mentioned something interesting. You said as the tournament went along, you got more concerned about the shot selection. Last year, it was almost the exact opposite. It was, and there's like, as Summer League went along, it's like, oh, there's something here. I get it now why they like this kid.
Exactly. It was the opposite. I don't know if he got hungry or happy with it after the third game because he's really nice balance with Orlando. Yep. You made the Chicago point. It was decent there too. And I think the third game over they played, he hit a bunch of them that game. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to be sharpshooter from 3. And that's all I'm settling for. I was like, what happened to the mid-range game I saw last year during the NBA season? Like, where's that game? The little up and unders, the little pirouettes. He had nice footwork. Where all that go to?
Yeah, and Golden State wasn't good.
Right.
Absolutely.
So by the time you get the Golden State game and the last game, I'm like, what is going on here? And so that concerns me because I hope that's not how they're going to try to play this young man.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's 2 other guys that I kind of really want to touch on first. One is Martin, and then the other is CMB. So just really quickly with Martin, and I don't think that there's as much to talk about him. He's very physical, but the lack of size showed it. And I said on the live, like, he had times where he was, like, contorting his body. Like, he just, like, chuck his body into something and then contort it. And it's like, if you have to do that, you're either playing a play style that you are going to get hurt eventually yourself, or you're going to be, if you're always getting tough struggle buckets like that, it's not a consistent form of offense for 99% of players on the planet. It's just, so I think there's a lot of work. I know a lot of people said that he was going to contend for a spot. I think he's a 2A. He's going to be getting lots of time between the 905 as well as the big club here and there as potential injuries happen. But also the guard spot is pretty filled up right now, even with guys that may not, like, I don't know if other guys are going to be here as well. So I think that it's going to be tough for him to make this roster on a consistent basis this year, other than like the occasional call up and getting like some time. I think he needs some seasoning, and I will leave it at that. Any thoughts? Unless can we?
No, I
okay.
So of all the Raptors in Summer League, he was one of my favorites, and he showed it mainly more the first couple of games. More so than the end.
That's interesting that you guys really like the first few games, and then you got it It's like the way that it ended left maybe not a sour taste in your guys' mouth, but it was lackluster as things went on.
I like guys. See, I was a fan of the draft pick of selecting him.
Hmm.
I like guys who come from championship programs. This guy is a winner, and he's mature.
Yes.
And there's a maturity about him too. He's 22 or 23 years old.
In
That's
that
fine.
last game, him and Shed did not give up.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Jamal Shed should be worried about playing time because obviously Martin's going to be mainly in the G League this year, I would assume. But there's a toughness, a grit about him. The
Yep.
athleticism is very like. I just look at him. I'm like, man, he's like a Marcus Smart. He just gets in your face and he defends and he's strong. I'm just like, man, every team needs a guy like Elijah Martin. You just when you're playing basketball and you just see there's a guy on the opposing team and you just know this guy is just super tough and he's going to get in your face all the time. He might not be the best player, but it's aggravating to deal with him. I just look at Elijah Martin. I'm like, you know what? If you improve your game, the jump shot has to improve, your creation skills have to improve, playmaking as well. But there's something there, I think, with him where he could potentially carve out a little of a role. I don't know if it's on our team or not in the future, but I like him. I like the grit. I like the toughness. I like how strong he is. I like the athleticism. Some kind of little bit of Marcus Smart in him. I
Yeah.
see a little bit if he ever develops. I like.
But if you're okay, I'll use Summer League as an example. That last game, he was guarding Neat Clifford.
Yep.
Neat Clifford's like 6'7", 6'8". This dude's 6'2". He can get in the face all he wants, but against, you know what I mean? Like, I just worry about the size. That's all.
No, that's understandable. I think physically he can match up with bigger players, but that will come into question
Yeah.
because eventually, some
Yeah,
guy
like it's
so
like
much taller than you, they'll just shoot over you.
right. It's like I think he can match up with guys who are like maybe 6'5". I
Yeah.
think that's fair. But some of the guards that are coming into the league are like they start at 6'5", some of them are 6'7", and it's like I don't know if he can match up with a 6'7" dude.
Yeah. We'll
Like
we'll see how this kind of plays out for him.
like a healthy Jason Tatum, I would not. I wouldn't put him out to guard Jason Tatum.
No. I wouldn't move that. But some of the guards in the league though, anywhere
Yes,
from 6 foot to 6'5" max. I think he can. I think he'd be okay with him.
he
Quite
can definitely
honestly.
be that gnat on the team where he's just like annoying. Where like the other, he just there's a guy that just gets into the other team. So yeah, beyond your thoughts, and then we'll get to CMP.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about G League guys. So
Okay. All right, that's all, folks. So
when you mentioned the Tatum thing, I said, didn't we just do that last year? Ochai, he's like an inch taller. We did the same thing. So
we did. I also
preposterous.
I saw a boat, but I'll talk to you guys about it offline. Through film study, it was a clapping moment on defense that then resulted in almost a Tatum dunk. But he missed the dunk. But my goodness. Anyways, CFP. Yeah, I mean, I think Coach and I did a really good job of covering who he is as a player, the concerns, the good, the bad, and why we're confident that he will be a solid NBA player, but why the skill has to develop in a particular way for him to be successful, and why the Raptors need to put him in certain positions for him to be successful. The last game that you guys may not have seen the full entirety of told me a lot. Number one, he doesn't get shaken. Not at all. However, he's still very foul prone. That's fine. But they had Isaac Jones. Isaac Jones is 6'9", and he basically plays the equivalent of the Mobo role for the Sacramento Kings last year.
Mm-hmm.
He played 70 games or something like that, and it had like 80 games. I don't have it in front of me, but it was more than 60. But he got like 7 minutes a game, 8 minutes a game. But they tried him at different positions. And he just feasted on the Raptors. Like when Like Castleton didn't do much. He was getting dunked on, and then when Chomchi got fouled out, like it was him, and then it was CMB and Mobo, and it was like there was a clear line of demarcation. Like clearly this guy is like 2.5 feet, 2.5 inches, sorry, taller than these other guys, and it was very clear cut. And I'm gonna just, it's like me directly at Bobby. You're telling me that this dude is gonna play small ball 5? You should be updating your LinkedIn if that's your situation. Just straight up. Just go update LinkedIn.
Enter code.
Goodbye. It's been nice knowing you because I don't know what you're talking about. I saw a lot of people online being like, there's no way this guy could play small ball 5 after that. And that's not a slight on him, but it's telling you what he is and what he is not.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay? I think if you play him in the right role, he could be really, really interesting. He is not a 5, and that is not a stopgap, and that is not a good idea. And against smaller teams, we should not be trying to do it. There's very few teams that you can get away with it on, and in the East, a lot of those teams have gotten bigger recently. So, there's teams are getting less and less. I think in terms of his wing skills, very interesting. However, he didn't get a chance to really work out and practice with his team coming into this because of he was coming off some like a hip injury coming into this where it was an adductor strain and he wasn't able to work out until basically now. It's the first time he's gotten on the court. And so I don't think that they really planned around using him in a particular way, which is why we had more of a guard-oriented offense. He showed me enough that I think the way that they use Scotty sometimes in terms of in pick and roll and passing downhill and stuff like that, he can actually do those things. And I'm very interested to see what comes next for him. And I'll leave it at that. Who wants to go next?
I'll say this. I mean, the first impression I got when I saw him come on the court in that first game, I think it was Orlando.
Yeah.
I said, like, man, this man is small. I'm sorry. I looked there and was like, what part of him's playing center? Okay. He was actually shorter in my mind than Mogbo it looked like. I'm like sitting here going like, what?
He's not.
They look the same essentially. I'm like,
they are the exact same in terms of height.
I'm like, what are we talking about here? And then secondly, I always say this though. What I do like with him though, unlike Mogbo in this case here, he doesn't mind contact.
No.
Yes,
He's
no.
going to go in traffic. He can go in there take his lumps. He might get blocked a few times, but he's going in there with some bad intentions. Do like that about him.
He is probably one of the more physical players on this roster.
Yep. 100%.
And that's a good or bad thing, but I'll take it. I agree with you.
It is what it is.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing from a roster.
Like I'm just gonna focus on him. I think it's a good thing that he likes to play physical.
I agree that he's a good thing. It doesn't speak well for the rest of the roster in my mind, but it's good that he likes to play physical.
And he's probably your best screener outside of Pearl. So he's your best non-center screener.
Look, I ain't trying to run the man out of town.
No. I'm just saying. Like, yes, I agree. That's a problem, but that is also a good thing that at least we have someone who's willing to do that.
I'm just sitting there watching the guys. I'm sitting there going like, okay, so like exactly. There's no way in my mind, from a pure strategy standpoint, that this coaching staff could play him and Mobo in any rotation. I can't. I
think Mobo's.
I can't see it.
Gonna lose his spot to this guy.
Yeah, I cannot see that. Now, as far as him, in this case, it was offense. He knows his spots. Here's once again. I go back as a running theme for 2 years with this bunch. It'll be year 3 now. Once again, we put people in positions that are not ready to actually handle. So I'm sitting out here, and now all of a sudden here, I got CMB Clay out here shooting threes. And I'm sitting there going like, what are we doing here, man? I watch this kid in this case here in college. I watch this kid here in film footage. Anything from 17 feet and in, it's almost automatic for him.
I agree with you.
Do they run anything for him? No, they don't run anything for him.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going like, what do we have to? What's the purpose of having him there? For him to shoot a bunch of threes that loses confidence? I don't understand this bunch when it comes to this, man. It's like I'm up to my like I I just don't get it, man. It's like, I'm sorry, man. Sorry, folks. There's nothing to do with CMB. It's the madness that we call the Toronto Raptors coaching staff. I don't get it.
I largely agree with you. Only thing that I will say is, after talking to a few people, I do have a better understanding. Now, it has to come with balance. They went one way on all the way on the other extreme. But it is important for guys to try things that they didn't normally try. So I do think it is good for him to, shoot a couple shots. But to your point, they didn't even look for him at all. Like, at all.
A pick and pop in this case would be nice. No, nothing like that.
Like, I know that some people have said that, they don't run plays in Summer League. That is not true. There are teams that are running plays. We ran some plays. We did not run plays for CMB.
Oh, no, we didn't run our typical 1-5 pick and roll we have shit in Castleton. Yeah, fantastic. Yes. Fantastic. Because Castleton's going to get a lot of run this season, getting plays run for him. Okay.
Castleton's not going to be here, man. Don't worry.
We saw a lot of screen and rolls for CMB, but that's about it. Sorry, go beyond.
Yeah.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Castleton won't be here. We're running crap for Castleton. That's my point. That is it. We got Jacoby Walker taking about 20 million threes and CMB spotting in the corner, but we running crap for Castleton.
I mean, to that point, less would have been more for his tape, I think. At this point.
Like, what are we doing
did damage.
Here? I just sit here shaking my head. Can we put him in positions where you feel comfortable? No, we don't do that. So screw that. But to your point, what they're trying to do, I find that chuckling in this case here, because number 4 in this case was the same philosophy, right? How many threes he wanted to shoot every thing? 12? More threes, the better for Darko? How's that working out for Scotty?
The one thing that I like is that he didn't really have any game that I think he shot over 3 threes. Most games he was 2. So I'm just...
Yeah, because he knows his game.
Bingo. So, yeah.
He's no idiot. He knows
his game. No, he knows his game.
Right. But these jokers in this case, they're called the Raptors coaching staff. It's like, shoot as many threes as you want in this case here. And as I said before, how's that worked out for Scotty?
Yes.
We gotta go through this. It's almost like a ritual. It's Survivor. We have to go through this every way. Who gets the tiki torch? Every year, you shall pass once you shoot X amount of threes a game. And then Scotty somewhere about a third or halfway through the season, this is nonsense. I'm going to go back wherever I do. And voila, he seems like actually packed together some decent-looking game in this case sometimes.
Yeah, but except for even that's lacking because then you've spent all the time on three-point shooting. But I think that's partially more on Scotty, to be honest. But
the coach said, Ken, you can't run from that. The coach went there on a microphone and told us he wanted.
The coach. You know where I stand on Darko. Right, I mean, he there's an accountability factor where it's like, Darvin Ham is a good example where it's like, hey, AD, I know you don't like to play this way. You're going to play this way.
Right. Exactly. That was the opposite where it's like, yes, your strength is there and the player doesn't want to do that. That's the opposite version of it. But for the coach out here to say, yes, keep shooting threes and we want you to shoot threes, and the kid doesn't get any chance to run stuff that's where his sweet spot is. Like, I mean, he put up numbers, quite honestly, despite his coaching staff, to be honest with you.
Yes. So that's why I gave James Wade flack on the offensive end. Yes. But anyways, I digress. Coach.
So certainly I had lots of people message me when the pick came. It's for CMB. My issue was not him. My issue was him on this team and how this team likes to do things and the trend in which this team is going in, which makes zero sense. CMB played like I saw at South Carolina this year. Strong, physical, good court awareness, knows his game, like Beyond said.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, he might be the best defensive player on this team come the start of the season.
Yes, that's not really.
He traps well. He rotates well. He moves his feet well. He's got long arms.
Yes, he does.
But
good reactions too. His reaction time was that was impressive.
I don't think this could be a spoiler alert, but Raptors Nation, unless Scotty Barnes gets traded, he'll never start on this team. Never. Correct. He's too big to play the 3. I say big, I mean like mobility-wise. He's not mobile enough to play that position. And he doesn't shoot the ball very well. Let's just call it 2 air balls in his first game. I'm not trying to run him out of town because of that. Because I know he didn't make a couple of threes, I think, throughout the summer league. He's going to have to shoot a little bit, but if teams are just going to let him shoot, they're going to let Scotty shoot from three until these guys start to show that they can make threes on a consistent basis. It's not a hard scouting report, not going to lie, if you're the other team. And it's really difficult. I don't mean to bring up another player, but I'm going to bring up Beyond's guy. If you were looking for a backup four in the draft, and that was, I don't know how you get Asen Newell, who's 6'9", who went 4 for 5 from threes, by the way, in one of the games. You could have used that on this Raptors team. I'm just like, I get it. CMB's probably got more defensive potential. I don't think there's much question on that. But the way the NBA is trending with bigger players who can offer more offense, and I'm literally watching a game right now, the Summer League Championship, Charlotte and Sacramento. Our guy, Mouth of the North, Kalkbrenner, is in the game playing a ton of minutes. And in Sacramento, Maxime Reynaud is in the game playing a ton of minutes right now. One both off, both over 7 feet. Kalkbrenner is very good around the basket, but he's 7 foot. Reynaud, we all know he can shoot a ton of threes, and he's really good offensively. So I'm trying to figure out, what are we doing here? I like Elijah Martin. I like CMB. Size is going to come into a factor very quick come the start of this season. So I'm just waiting to see what this looks like.
Yeah, I think if I'm focusing on, and I'll get into this at some point on more of a solo side, the second round selections for the Raptors are not necessarily misses, but misses at building for fit.
Yep.
And if you were to say, okay, you had both selections where you could pick whoever, the second, I have nothing bad to say about Martin, but a guy that would have helped make it fit for CMB would have been Maxi Reynaud.
Yeah.
Also fitting the overall roster construction and whatnot. I understand that talent matters and it is important, but within that talent, part of the talent, when people talk about Scotty Barnes has talent, part of what they're talking about is his athletic gifts and not his skill level. And you can't teach size. And to your point, I mean, you said it before me. I mean, there is a way. I mean, if Scotty slides down to the 4, if he is willing to do that, there is a pathway, hypothetically, that, yes, CMB could start on this team. But the point is that CMB is his path to success in the NBA is more than likely as a wing rather than as a forward. And we will see if the Raptors are able to make sure that he is able to be the most successful or not. And we'll go from there.
You're taking such a gamble, though, because everyone wants to compare him to Draymond Green. Like, I don't like that for a variety of reasons. I don't think it's fair to Draymond. I don't think it's fair to CMB. I think CMB can really defend. I really do. I think
he really can.
He's a tremendous defender. But last time I checked, Bobby said he wanted two-way versatility monsters, that kind of thing. He's a monster on one end of the court. I don't know if he is offensively. If you told me 15 years ago his play style, okay, sure. Yeah. But when teams go 5 out and you can only go 2 out because 3 of the guys that you're playing play 10 feet from the hoop, like we're doing great at drafting these mid-elbow players. You got Scotty, you got CMB.
Well, we don't even play them in the mid-elbow.
And Pirtle, like we're doing fantastic there. But I'm trying to really make sense of what is this? Are you trying to compete for a playoff spot this year, or like where are you going with this? The rest of the league's getting bigger, we getting smaller. Like
we played 2 hours.
Yeah,
we played 2. Yeah.
So that brings us to the. Is there anything else? There's a final thing, and then we'll get out of here because this has been a longer pod. And so yeah, it's been a minute since we've all chatted.
Looking forward to watching Corliss Williamson. All right.
Because there's one final point that I want to make, which is that if you're Keith Pelley, who got front row seats at this,
Yes.
based on what we've seen, right? He's not as like the basketball aficionado, but what are you thinking of this? Because that well, actually, that wasn't really the question I wanted to ask. But it is a good question. But more so, I mean, you're watching this, you're seeing this. I'm wondering if what we just talked about and all that, and all the no one wants to own the pick, and no one wants to own any of the past moves who's here, if that all leads in. Because recently, I heard Bobby's new anthem, which is, it wasn't me. It's a Shaggy song. And you're getting leaks like that for someone who wants to prove that he's a leader, but saying that I had no part in any of these past moves. And to me, if you're trying to say I'm going to lead us into the next generation, but I didn't do nothing, well, why do I trust you to do anything then? Why do I need you here?
Oh boy. I'll just say this, man.
I want to keep it shorter just because I know it's a longer.
I mean, quick. Keith Pelley is sitting in the front row. This tells me that probably by the time this summer is done, we will have a new president of basketball operations.
Yep.
Maybe coach. Who knows who it might be, but we will have.
Do either of you actually, coach, your thoughts, and then the second thing is, do either of you think that, like, what are the odds that it would be Bobby?
Well, to your first question, I was glad to see Keith Pelley, by the way, at Summer League.
Yep.
He's taking this serious right now, and he's probably meeting with other executives in Vegas. You don't just go and watch the games. Like, there's more to it than him just watching the games. So obviously they're meeting with people. So that was cool to see.
He's certainly taking the executive search seriously.
He's taking it fairly seriously. What was your second question?
Bobby.
Oh, Bobby.
Yeah, the over-under on Bobby for you.
I'll put it to you this way. If they hire a new president, I don't know if Bobby's here long term.
Well, that's what the Lewinberg article suggested. Is that it came out and that and maybe I'll cover this on a solo thing, but basically there was almost like, if this search goes on for too long, it becomes an inhumane thing. Oh. Humanity was used in this article, and from a Bobby standpoint, and to me that does not bode well for his chances. So I've had a few people ask me, like, well, don't you think it's Bobby or whatever? And I'm like, well, when articles like that are coming out, and those are only coming out from Bobby's camp, it ain't no new guy who's still like an undisclosed and probably signed an NDA, right? It ain't Grant Hill. That's coming from Bobby.
Rats.
And that is not a vote of confidence in, I really think I'm going to get the job. And, that's someone who's not going to be shopping at Hugo Boss no more and saving up.
Can you imagine that? You think that through for a second. Whoever, I'll just be kind here, because I don't want any lawyers coming at me. Let's put it this way. I'll just say it this way. Whoever in this case that's leaking these sources in this case, or leaking these moments here to Grange, the inhumanity that's happening here, or a man's making about six figures at least, if not, at six figures, living quite a comfortable life. Because let me tell you something, to your point, them suits ain't coming off the rack. I tell you that much in this case here.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that Lewinberg at times is a little bit, his reporting is sound, but I do understand that, like, the word humanity it's a little bit much.
Humanity of it, really?
It's a little bit.
This article, so
I'll send you it after.
This is make me laugh, man. Oh, poor thing. Oh,
yes. Basically, it's like, but there are people that are afraid in the and on eggshells essentially in this organization because they don't know what's going to happen next.
Good. Good.
And
job better. Good.
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 Have you seen the last 4 years?
Right.
Yeah.
Folks need to get a little warmer, eat the seat a little bit. Good.
Yeah.
Either way, I will just say that it's just if that coming from the Bobby side or whatever of the organization, because essentially it's trying to say like, well, the Brandon Ingram thing was all Masai's idea and I was pushed into it. That is from the same article. That is not a good look.
No, maybe Uncle Larry will find him a job over there with the tempo.
Them jobs is already filled up, man.
Well, I'm sure you can find something. I'm not losing sleep for Bobby Webster. Guys,
No. But yeah. So that's all I would say. And then the other thing too is that I know that they were very clear cut on PR and stuff like that. And unlike Masai could command a room. Bobby is not someone who commands a room. Now, is there a chance that Bobby gets hired? Possibly. You would think that they would have done that at the last presser. But yeah. One final thing, and then we'll get out of here. Just my thoughts. I thought that by now they would have introduced like properly CMB in an introductory presser, and they haven't. It's a little bit saddening, and it does speak to the frozen nature of the organization before they get the Popo, president of basketball operations. So.
I disagree with that completely.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. This is one of the reasons why, in this case, sometimes to your previous point, because Bobby and this group here are not people.
Yeah, because they could have found a way to still push it through.
I mean, that world ain't that hard to do a press conference. Get you?
Yeah. I'll make one other point. The Raptors PR team made a comment, and I was thinking the same thing. I actually saw JD's comment, but it's true. They said, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years looking back on this moment during the Summer League run? Now, if in 5 years I'm talking about Summer League, no bueno. I'll leave it at that. People, like, comment, and subscribe. And, we're back in full force. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of other things. Terry Rozier, other stuff. Stay tuned, folks. Take care, and peace.